Hey, Dan. Greetings. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. I did not apparently load my intro. There it is. There's the intro. Ha ha ha. Switch to Linux. Yay, penguin, typey, blah, blah, blah. And greetings. And you know what, guys? I completely forgot to do my banner again. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Well, I'll go ahead and unmute the panelists so you guys can say hello. You can't see them yet. Let me get the banner fixed, and then you guys can say hello. Greetings. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. And I got to turn off my audio on my system. There's the intro. Jeez, I'm just not doing well today. How's everyone else there doing?
It's just one of them days. You're right in par with everything.
Yep. So today we are going to be talking about DNA, privacy, and the FBI. Or we'll name the random three-letter agencies where you happen to live, I guess. Okay, usually I'm more on the ball than this, but oh well. Title. And are you going to work now? Oh, really? Every time I'm in a rush, the title does not want to work. I have to reload the titles.
Oh, Tom, I forgot to mention that it was 70 here today.
Oh, shush.
Oh, yeah. Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
It was 82 here today.
Oh, shush.
Put a sock in it.
These guys.
I don't want to hear
all right, Vince, we got epic OBS crash.
Here.
We should be back on. Are we back on now?
Yes.
Oh, of course, we're back on now, but it messed up.
Yeah, that's one big mess there.
Ah, there we are. Woohoo! Recovery. All right. Are we good now? I don't know. I've never had that happen, and maybe it's. Oh, you know what I need to do though? Let me kick off the kitty cam. That might do it. Die kitty cam. All right, the kitty is back on vacation. Well, we should be back now. Can somebody else confirm we're back now?
Yes, we're back.
Okay.
Mine's it looks like it's back, but I have like a 2-second delay at least.
Yep. All right. OBS crashed. My apologies, folks. All right. So, lost stream. That would be. Woo. It's just one of them days. How's everyone else's day going?
Horrible.
Horrible. All right. Therapy with Switch to Linux. What's so horrible?
Of course, it's getting better now. I get to forget about real life for a while.
All right, there you go. Oh, yeah, just don't worry. Well, the FBI got it.
Now it's everyone else's too.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump on in. So we're going to be talking about genealogies and FBI databases and fun stuff like that. So before we get into the article, what is everybody's first initial thought? DNA, FBI databases, and things like that.
Nothing good.
Well, we knew it was coming. I knew it was coming back in the 90s when they broke the barrier with DNA and testing and stuff like that and cloning a sheep and all that junk too. At that time, it was really expensive to monkey around with DNA and it wasn't really going anywhere really fast. But at the turn of the century, it seemed to perpetuate into this kind of a thing.
Yeah. Okay. Other thoughts?
This seems like one of those things that is just inevitable at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we have to like it, of course, but
of course.
Where are the warrants? Where's due process?
Now, allegedly they have that kitty. All right, kitty said plus sign. Kitty, leave my keyboard alone. I don't need any more OBS crashes. So yeah, we'll get into that. Anyone else?
And of course, whenever new technology becomes commercially viable, companies have to jump on the bandwagon and make what they can off of it. Yeah. And now that working with DNA is fairly dirt cheap in comparison to what it was, of course, they're going to sell it as a convenience and they're going to tout everything good about it. They don't tell you the nefarious underpinnings of what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
They hope if they don't tell you, you won't find out.
Or won't think about it. They're praying that you stop at the point of stopping at the point of thinking, you know?
Really, this is why I've been really scared about all this DNA testing, because I knew that one day they'd be doing stuff like this. Like everybody's like, oh, you should get 23andMe. You could see all your family history and where you come from.
Well, I mean, maybe you can see all your family history because for those that watch this channel enough, you know that I do like CBC Marketplace, and they tackled this issue just a couple of weeks ago. And some twins sent in their DNA to 5 different ancestry DNAs and found some very interesting results. So this is the first part of this article, is this discussion, is that these things, first and foremost, aren't really all that accurate. And the reality is, what else is not really all that accurate? How about facial recognition, which gives us false flags? So when you send in DNA and all these different sites are very inaccurate, we can get the potential for false flags. So let's have a look at what CBC Marketplace found. Of course, you can grab this link and go to there and watch their video. It was very fascinating. So they sent it into 23andMe, speaking of them. Now, remember, these are identical twins. So in theory, their DNA should be identical. All right. You can see that they do have some slight differences. Somehow Carly is 13% European and Carlisle is not. Genetic identical twins. There's some others. There's some French in Carly, in Carlisle, but not Carly. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that name right. Other things fairly okay. But then we get down into like, well, let's see what all of the companies say. So Ancestry seems to actually say, hey, at least they're both the same people, pretty close. But Eastern European, some Russian, some Italian, some Greek. And then MyHeritage, again, hey, very identical, very good. But they're Balkan, there's some Greek. They seem to appear on, agree on part of the Greek. Northern and Western Europe. So here's where they're basically allegedly from. Notice that Carlisle here seemed to pick up some genetic material from the British Isles. However, Carly, the identical twin, did not. So that's exciting. And so they went through and found that there's, and I'll let you read the rest of the article there talking about some of the challenges and issues. So first and foremost, we have lack of consistency across the companies. Any surprise there?
Not much surprise there. We were sold a bill of goods. All of this stuff that they're saying about DNA and any other thing of that platform or similar is bulletproof, and come to find out, even with the facial recognition, it's all sold as a bunch of hogwash. It's full of holes. It doesn't work right. In reality, they're trying to scare us that it's bulletproof when it really isn't.
Yeah.
Right, and that's a fact, Tom, because you have experience working in a medical lab, as do I. And you know, when you're extracting DNA, there's a whole lot of steps you have to take in chemical solvents and dilutions. And I don't know how much they have mechanized and how much they don't, but that is far from perfect. Whenever you're talking about chemistry, you're talking about a possibility to introduce error. And especially with DNA.
And now that they're finding holes in all this testing and stuff like that, how's that going to affect how it stands up in court?
Yeah. And another factor is, now that we have this comprehensive database, it becomes a little bit easier to put somebody away for life if you want to stage a murder and leave their DNA at the scene, which is remarkably easy. I mean, if you have a rudimentary knowledge of restriction enzymes and, you know, DNA stock and some PCR, you can frame anybody. I mean, so, I mean, and that's all. I mean, it sounds kind of technical, but in reality, that's, you know, that's college level stuff, things like that. So
exactly, it's not all that hard if you know what you're doing.
Yeah. So of course I'm trained with PCR. I'm also trained with real-time PCR. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that this is not all that good. It's kind of shocking. Any other final comments on this one before we dive into the first major website here? All right. Well, this one, courtesy of Vince from TechSpot. Of course, I was going to talk about this. I I picked up on the arse one for the news tomorrow, but it's not as a good enough topic to have on a panel today. Popular genealogy website is now sharing its DNA with the FBI. And according to reports, the FBI only needs 2% of the population's DNA to be able to effectively match anyone in the country. So, what do you guys think? I mean, it makes me really thankful I use my own coffee cups, so I'm not buying cups at the store and throwing them away out in public. And it's like, I want to burn my garbage now.
Well, I mean, that's the problem, right? Is we're all shedding our own source code billions of times a day.
Hey, Jessi, how's it going?
I want to burn my garbage now. Well, I mean, that's the problem.
Whoa, Jessi, can you throw on some headphones? We're getting a lot of feedback.
I just muted.
Gotcha. Okay. Actually, it's still going, I think. I don't know. All right. So, yeah, we're getting a ton of feedback from you still. Jessi, we're still getting a ton of feedback from you.
What?
We're still getting a ton of feedback from you.
Okay. I just muted my audio. I don't know why it's on the wrong mic, but my mic should not be feeding back at all. Sorry, but I just muted my audio, so I can't hear you. Give me a few seconds. I'll figure it out.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So, initial thoughts before we dive into read the article. Initial thoughts. I'm sensing horror. I mean, do we have horror or what's going on here?
If the DNA testing is so unreliable, then why does the FBI even want to bother with it? I mean, again, we're back. How well does this hold up in court if the DNA testing is not reliable?
Well, I think that DNA testing itself, for the purpose of matching a person, is very reliable. The problem with the 23andMe and all these popular kits is that the kits are claiming to be able to identify your ancestry. They don't seem to be good at identifying your ancestry. However, they can be used very well to match, which is exactly how they caught the one guy in California, right? Just from a familial relative. And of course, Law and Order has picked up on this a few different times and have used it as twists to stories. You all figured out there, Jessi?
I guess you're down to the point where we're all going to have to walk around in big giant plastic bags with an oxygen tank.
We might need to do that. Yeah.
I certainly hope I got it figured out anyway. It totally defaulted to the completely wrong audio device, and it tried to use my webcam as my audio device, which is not the way I run my setup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what happened.
I know which dilemma you're fighting.
We're on now. All right, what distro, Jessi? What distro?
My distro?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were talking privacy and stuff tonight. We got to get into a distro.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I'm not. I don't need a Manjaro vaccine anyway.
There you go. All right, that's good.
I'm a Linux Mint guy.
There you go. All right, cool. Because production
for everything.
All right. All right. So basically what's going on here is this company, which is FamilyTreeDNA, they basically looked at this and said, well, we don't need rapists and serial killers running around, so let's just allow law enforcement access. And basically what they're doing is they're coming out and saying, hey, the way that they caught the Golden State Killer is the way that they're just affirming they're going to do this model going forward. So what it looks like is law enforcement can create a user account and submit data. But to get any of the data back, they are allegedly have to get a warrant to get the data according to the company. So there is some warrants involved in this. But still, we have a couple issues. Number one is that unless you opt out on the front end, anything you submit can be matched against what the FBI sample happens to be. That in and of itself is a challenge.
The thing is, how do you opt out, though? Is it some crazy process to, opt out?
It's probably wait until the moon hits the right phase and then call the telephone number from a landline phone at a phone booth on the corner and enter a certain key to, probably something like that. I don't know. it's probably like it's something you can do. But yeah, I haven't heard exactly how. So the actual press release, it does tell you can opt out of this, and so doing this would, in theory, prevent your DNA from being matched. I'm not holding my breath on that one. So thoughts on this, Ben? What do you think overall?
What's concerning to me is that on this article, it talks about how the FBI only needs about 2% to match anybody in the country, and this, which, you know, if you guess that the population is about 300 million, just say that's 6 million people. This one company has a third of that.
Yeah.
So they don't need very much more than this.
Yep. So I guess it's just a matter of marketing enough until you get at least 2% of the population, and then all our DNA is basically publicly accessible anyway. Brian, thoughts?
Yeah, that's similar. Now, the only good thing about that is if you only have 2%, theoretically, you have everybody's, but it's with less of a degree of certainty. The more DNA you have, the more certain you are. So, again, like what Dan said, I don't know how that would come into play in a court of law, if there's a certain cutoff by which it becomes legally acceptable or not.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about admissibility and non-admissibility of evidence, because, like, for example, if you're pulled over, a breathalyzer test is not admissible in court, but a blood alcohol test level is. So if you fail the breathalyzer, they do, like the field sobriety breathalyzer test is not admissible. There is a form of breathalyzer that is a more comprehensive that you do at the station. That's admissible. So with the DNA, what they're doing here, it's not that you're matching the DNA and using that in court. So it's kind of like this 3-point triangle. So the DNA is in the system and they take it from the crime scene. They match the crime scene to the database, which will either get a very direct hit or a familial hit. If it's a familial hit, they'll go and they'll interview the people, find out who the relatives are, and then stock the relatives, basically. And because what you don't need, you do not need a court order of any form to follow somebody around, and if they discard a cup, to take that cup out of the garbage. So that's how they got the Golden State Killer, is there was a familial hit, a female relative hit off the DNA that matched all of these crime scenes. So all the crime scenes, they knew they were all from this guy based on DNA evidence. So then they found a familial hit. They determined from interviewing who the person likely was, and without a warrant, they stalked the guy until he threw away a cup in a public trash can. Since he threw it away in a public trash can, it's not breaking the law to pull it out and analyze the DNA on that cup to the original crime scene samples. So that's how it works. So all they need is that 2% to be able to spot and track down the familial connections to go back and trace everybody back to the source. Once you have your target, there's no court warrant involved. You just stalk the guy until you can collect their DNA. And that's the biggest problem I have.
At what point do you actually say to the court of law, when you have this cup, is there any actual DNA on the cup? Prove it.
Well, they can, because if you drink out of it, you're leaving some DNA behind.
You have to prove that.
Yeah, you have to prove it's yours. How do you know? How do you know before getting that cup somebody else didn't drink out of it and then put it in there?
Exactly.
And that's one of the things which they're not going to be quite as concerned about when in all sadness, but.
I mean, for all we know, it could be DNA from some alien from outer space.
That's correct, yeah. I mean, it could be my DNA because I am an alien from outer space. Hey, nice cup there. Yeah, shop.switchedtolinux.com.
Yeah.
Jessi, thoughts on this?
Well, more or less, I'm looking at it like when you look at DNA, 97% of our DNA is the same as like a manatee. I'm just picking a random animal. You know,
actually, 99.8% to a chimp.
Oh, all right. Okay, well, I didn't go to school for that stuff, right? I'm just taking a close number. But anyway, I mean, it's the same. So, like, how can you prove that a manatee didn't commit this murder or whatever it is that you're trying to investigate, you know?
I'm getting a pet monkey. I mean, that's all I can say. I'm getting a pet monkey. That way it's like, hey, I didn't do it. It was the monkey, man.
Yeah, for sure. I seriously, I don't know enough about DNA and all that to be educated about it on that front. But I do see some dangers and all that when the government wants to keep a DNA database on every citizen out there. And that's basically what we're heading into, is not just, you know, databases of, you know, criminals and sex offenders and stuff like that, that you want to keep on hand that have legitimate reasons. What we're going to end up going into here is where, in order for you to be able to go and buy a loaf of bread at the corner store, you're going to have to submit your DNA and be on record and have your chip in your arm that's tied to your DNA and all the other stuff to be able to do anything.
That would be called the market.
You can pay for all your expenses with your DNA.
That's
your
right.
DNA is your credit card number.
Forget the coffee cup, Tom. Why not just use your DNA?
Yeah, I'm telling you, you know, that's right. I mean, just scan it, zip it. Vince, your country is running down this rabbit hole faster than ours. What's your thoughts?
I don't know. I just have this real problem with any organization, whether it be a private company or a government, holding at my DNA, because my DNA is who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have big problems with that because I mean, once it's out there, you can't get it back. And you know, what's to say that the government's not going to hold this database and say, oh, you know, they're going to identify these people who have a gene for this tendency or a gene for that tendency, and start, you know, controlling people and what they do and targeting people and discriminating against people. What's to stop that? And don't forget, this stuff is in a database. It's in a computer database. It can get hacked as well. So we're all worried about, you know, our browsing data being hacked. This is way more important than that, I feel.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, if you use your DNA as your password, you're messed because you can never change your DNA. I can change my password. I can't change my DNA. And, you know, going back to what you touched on, the what's called the turnkey issue that Snowden talks about. You know, sure, it may be benign now, but what will the next people who gain power and access to that use it for? That's a thought. Jessi, do you want to jump in and say something?
Yeah, well, you're talking about using your DNA for like authentication or for security, right? And I actually had this security discussion. I don't know if it was on your channel or another channel, I forget now. But like, you're talking about fingerprints to access things, and like somebody can cut your thumb off. And I know that they, you know, if it's a secure facility, it also needs to detect a heat signature from the thumbprint in order to activate, or the handprint or whatever. But like, so somebody cuts your hand off right about right here. Okay, and this is the identifying portion. And if you put a heater element on this side of it, okay, and transfer that to whatever it is that's trying to scan the palm print, well, they got it, and it has a heat signature. It's legit, right? Or in the case of other biometrics, eye scans, retina scans, whatever. If I have a password in my head, okay, you really need to work hard to beat it out of me, because you can't take it unless I verbalize it to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's kind of what's at the heart of the question about using biometrics to lock your phone, uses the password to lock your phone. Vince, did you want to jump in there and say something else too?
Yeah, I mean, but this stuff, I think you touched on it already. But I mean, once it's you can't change it. It's out there. You can't take it back. Yeah, and Democritus just said that in the chat, said you leave your DNA everywhere. It's not really private, but. The thing is, the people aren't going around collecting your DNA willy-nilly. They're not going to through your garbage bin to collect your DNA. This is an organized effort to collect DNA, and then it's going to be held for
and centralize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then another aspect is looking at it from the medical point of view. What happens when health insurance companies get a hold of this data?
And they want it. Like, oh, you have a predisposition to this based upon a genetic marker. Your insurance is going to cost you quite a bit more. And then, you know, we're going to be right back full circle with where we're going. Quint, did you want to jump in and say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that I'm sure eventually we'll see. You know how you have the other SSOs for authentication, like you have log in with Google, log in with Facebook. We'll see log in with DNA eventually.
Yeah, there you go. Oh boy, you'll have to breathe onto a special port on your phone. So That's any more thought on that?
You were talking about insurance companies getting a hold of some of this data, and what it makes me think of is like consumer points cards at stores. Whether that be, I'm Canadian, so I may speak a different language than everybody here, but we have like air miles and other points cards like that aren't just store-based points, but they're sort of points organizations that go across multiple retailers. So it can really get a spending habit from you, not just from your grocery store, not just from your gas station, but from an array of places. And I see those things being infiltrated by insurance agencies in a sense, like not about your health, but you buy too many potato chips, you can't get life insurance.
Correct. I mean, Jessi,
I saw a commercial the other day. It was for like you were talking about a health insurance company that was using that was basically using apps to give you benefits. Like if you just gave them all your like workout data and stuff.
Yep.
I don't remember
they're gonna first collect that data to give you a discount, but then they're going to turn around when they have a certain percentage and use that data against you.
There's nothing to stop them when they do your garbage pickup for actually taking your garbage to wherever the landfill is or wherever and going through the garbage from a given garbage truck from a given area and cataloging everything from that area.
Yeah. That's possible.
That's getting pretty scary if they go that route.
Yeah. So going back to Jessi's point there regarding the Shoppers Club points. Jessi, did you see the article? It was either in Seattle or in Oregon somewhere. And what they did is a city, they were looking for ways to increase their revenues. So they bought the card data, the Shoppers Club data, cross-referenced it people who bought pet licenses and who bought pet supplies with their Shopper Club points. And then sent out threatening letters to people who bought pet supplies on their Shoppers Club cards but didn't have a pet license. That's a scary use of that data by a government.
A pet license. What is a pet license?
Some cities,
So they sell dog licenses and stuff here now.
Yep.
Now, sneaky little confession, I've never bought one, and I've had a dog my entire life, right?
Yeah, we won't tell him,
the dog was supposed to have a license. Well, you should have made him buy one when he was born, I guess, but I don't know how you'll convince him to buy one, so.
Yeah. So all this kind of ties into this concept of the third-party doctrine. And so the third-party doctrine from Wikipedia page, what the third-party doctrine says is that our Constitution here in the United States, it prevents the government from collecting and storing data on citizens. Not that they don't. I mean, and NSA come to mind. But the third-party doctrine is a loophole in that basically says that if we give our data to Google, to 23andMe, to all these different companies, and then the companies now, because they're the ones that control that data now, because the terms and conditions, you've given it up, now they can share that data with anyone they want, and so they send it to the government. And this is really what PRISM was all about, was that, sure, the government's not directly connecting the data, they just have the backdoor deals to access it anytime they want. And that becomes the challenge here, that all this marketing is us giving us this data so that we can go, ooh, I'm part Scandinavian. Like, I don't care if I'm part Scandinavian. I'm a good old American mutt, and I don't care.
I already know pretty much a lot of my family history. We have a lot of that documented.
Yeah. So you're in good shape, And if you really want to know, then go find a Mormon. Just don't go onto Ancestry.com. That's what I did when I want to do family history research. I went and found a Mormon who's a friend of mine. It's like, hey, help me research my family. And we went to the library together, and he showed me how do you research your family, because that's a big part of their religion is to research your family tree and pray for your family tree. So they are experts at it. In fact, that's who owns Ancestry.com and a few of these other ones as well. They are Mormon-owned companies because that's big in their religion. So with this, giving our DNA, giving our data, giving everything, we are effectively giving it to companies who can turn around and lend it to the government for their taking without anything. And that's what a lot of the current legal discussion on privacy is interfacing on this third-party doctrine. So what do you guys think? Ben, we'll start with you.
Now, this, correct me if I'm wrong, this would still require a warrant, wouldn't it?
Ish. It's fuzzy. That's the problem.
Or at least it ought to.
It ought to. But this is... Yeah, this is what is at the crutch of the issue, because people are coming back and saying, no, you cannot grab the cell phone location data without a warrant. But they're doing it all the time. They're saying we cannot grab the DNA stuff without a warrant, but they're doing it all the time. Or grabbing the data and then backtracking and asking for the warrant.
Throw it out of court, though, if they illegally obtained something without a warrant?
It depends on how good your lawyer is. The fact of the matter is many DAs...
just throw that out summarily?
Well,
and the judge should automatically throw it out without...
There is nothing automatic in a courtroom, okay? Courtrooms see evidence and testimony. That's it. Okay? They do not do anything unless one party or the other instructs them to do something. They are not there to perform an action. They are there to hear and make a decision based on the evidence that is heard, right? And people have this misconception that courts are out there to look out for people, or they're out there to do the right thing, or they're out there to follow the law. Courts are there to do what you instruct them to do based on their decision and interpretation of the laws and the evidence you present.
Correct.
That's
What
it.
you have to do in the United States to rise to the point that notify the court that the evidence was obtained illegally and it has to be investigated.
Yeah.
Yeah, an attorney could bring that out if they know to do it. But like Jessi said, if nobody brings it out, no one's going to know to do it, and the judge is going to assume it was legal until it's brought to his attention or her attention otherwise.
Yeah.
See, but you can't bring it up to notify the court that... You can bring it up to notify the court that it was obtained illegally. You can't notify the court that it needs to be investigated. Courts don't investigate.
Right.
You need to investigate and present the evidence.
Right.
See what I mean?
Taken care of in the process of discovery.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the problem is that courts, as Jessi said, are very based upon the rigid procedure. It's like a computer program. The problem is there is no clear-cut law around third-party doctrine, and that's the issue. That we don't have a solid way to say, yes, this is legal, no, this is legal, yes, this is legal under this case, no, it's not legal under this case. So it's not a clear-cut thing, and that's really part of the issue. So that's what I'm thinking. Other comments on that? Quint, I don't think you've chimed in on third party yet.
I honestly think that just once they get a hold of everything, they can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, they'll find a way to make it legal.
If there's no law against it, they'll just do what they want, and they'll be able to. I'm sure soon enough that they'll probably be able to sell the data to organizations like the FBI and other companies.
Sure.
I mean, for marketing purposes and tracking.
A big thing in Radio Shack, when Radio Shack went bust, it was a huge thing they went bust, but they were valuable because of their massive database of customers' names, addresses, and phone numbers. And so that data was sold.
Their database?
Yeah. And that became a point of contention. Do we allow this database to be sold? There was entire court cases around that. Vince, what's your thoughts on third party?
If these companies, if they can share this data with the government, what's to stop them sharing them with marketers? I mean, if you have the gene for diabetes, what's to say that a pharmaceutical company can't now come and start in your face marketing diabetes products? I honestly wonder if people, when they send in their DNA the first time around, did they really know that one of these days it's going to be shared with the government, shared with a third party? Would they really have sent it in the first place?
Yeah.
Did you read your terms of service?
Oh, nobody reads the terms of service. That's part of the problem.
They need to be simplified.
I asked them. The thing is, I was really curious about this. So I asked if any of my classmates, if they read that thing. I described it to them as that thing that you click the I agree button to. And they were like, nobody reads that. Yeah, I was trying to tell them that Instagram sells your photos, and it does. I've looked through the thing. It says that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
No, well, did you read the thing that you clicked the checkbox for? No, nobody reads that.
Quint, get them to read the Windows 10 user agreement.
Yeah, I tell people to read that all the time.
Oh, they won't. Yeah.
You don't even have to read all of it. You're dumbfounded, numb-headed by the time you get a quarter of the way through it. They can really do this.
Yeah, that's
you get 5% of the way through, and you know you're being scammed, man.
Yeah.
Oh joy. Oh joy. This is the case. But yeah, so what do we do about it? I mean, we like solutions when we can. I mean, I think the best thing we can do about it is, alert people to the dangers of these companies, alert people to the dangers of all of the data, and anything that you're going to do, make sure that you are doing it with a cognition towards where you want to go. Make sure that you're not just blindly doing things for convenience or anything else. That's kind of bad.
There's one more quick thing I wouldn't mind throwing in there as well. I know, like, in the States anyway, don't ask me about my government. We're screwed here anyway. But, like, you guys have laws in place where it prevents the government from databasing you based on DNA and discriminating against you based on DNA and things like that. However, is there any law in place that prevents them from buying this data from another company instead of doing it themselves?
No. It's the problem.
Right, and so I see private enterprise as the larger threat to our privacy and our security than the government itself. As much as I hate, let's put hate in quotations, hate the government, right? Because that's a very mixed topic as well. As much as we may hate on the government, I don't think that's the largest threat.
Our government has workarounds for nearly everything that you hate about yours.
Yeah. But if you can keep your data out of the hands of the company, the government doesn't have a place to go to grab it. And that's why you want to be more cognizant about what you're doing.
It's scary if they start collecting DNA at date of birth.
They already do. They have been doing it since the 70s, actually.
Ooh, that's scary.
Yep, they have been doing that since the 70s, and there actually is a big database. It is a corporate-owned grouping of nearly every baby's DNA. Which is kind of exciting to know and to think about. But so technically they already have all this stuff, but no. I think they're just waiting for the opportune moment to unveil that and use it against the populace.
I think even though they've been doing that since the 70s, maybe back in the 70s they didn't do it as well. So it may not be as prime stuff as they can get today.
Correct. Yeah. So some of us older folks are probably safe. Sorry, Quint.
What did you say? I wasn't listening.
Oh, sorry, man. Don't worry about it. You will worry about it if we tell you.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about how since the 70s, they have been collecting everybody's DNA, but back then it was probably crude and we don't have good samples. But the modern day, they got good samples. So us older guys are okay. You're messed up though. Sorry.
Surprised. I'm surprised that a few of us. Never mind. Surprised. As I could guess that a few of you guys were probably born right around the time they started doing that. Like, I'm guessing you, Tom.
Yeah, never know. I don't know what the state of my DNA is. Yep. And
wait, are you saying Tom's old? Hang on, let's get that. Let's get that. Come on, put that on the table.
Tom's a baby next to me.
I'm guessing they may have something on you, Tom. I'm just guessing.
Well, if they do, it wouldn't be well preserved or well done. DNA collection techniques then were not. They were very crude, and so
they really didn't get to the point where they could actually do much with it until about the early 90s.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, I actually still have the Nature and the Science journals when the human genome was mapped, and of course I was in that field at that time, so it was a big deal that we all got a copy of that.
Back in the 90s, if my timing's right, it may be off. They created a lamb out of DNA from another lamb, and they were twins, and they were. Yep. It was a test tube lamb. They had a name for it, I forgot. Huh?
Cloned it.
Yeah, they did cloned some cloning.
Yeah. That was Dolly the sheep.
Die very young.
It did. I mean, it didn't live long, but it did live long enough to be, a viable creature.
It proved the concept. Of course, if they could improve on it, if they do, which I don't think they should.
Well, at that time, it raised all kinds of ethical questions to the point where it got beaten down some.
Right, exactly. And it's still an ethical question. Now, I know right now these companies, if they do save the actual DNA itself and not just the data from the DNA, could they theoretically clone us?
Well, that goes into the stem cell research and all that other stuff they've been trying to pull over on us.
I've been doing actually a lot of listening to some different speakers on in the realm of theoretical physics and stuff like that. And there's a lot about storing DNA in a digital fashion and being able to reduplicate it and resynthesize it at a later time. Correct. So that's a science that may or may not be currently viable. You guys are more educated than me. But that's something I see coming out in the future for sure.
Yeah, so that was, it's basically, synthetically synthesizing DNA is not too difficult. Now, converting that into something that would be a viable creature would still be difficult for these days. But you can synthesize it, and that's the biggest problem with all this DNA collection with the FBI with stuff, is because it's so easy to synthesize DNA. You could plant DNA at a crime scene. It's possible. In fact, that was one of the premise. If you ever seen the movie R.E.D., Retired Extremely Dangerous, with who was that? Bruce Willis and stuff. Bruce Willis and Morgan Freeman. That's one of the scenes in there. The guy was actually planting DNA evidence in a crime scene. If you remember the early part of the movie, to frame somebody, and that's fairly simple to do. But the technology allows us to do it without actually collecting a hair sample, because you could get something that's sort of like blood resemblance, mix that DNA in with it, and somebody identifies it, says, "Oh, I think that's blood," pulls it out. You could type it, you can model it, you could even use the fake DNA that's used for blood typing samples. So you can add the type, add the DNA, and say, "Oh, we found blood with his DNA at the scene." It's not that difficult to do with the proper scientific stuff, which is simply some enzymes available from Sigma Aldrich.
It sounds like it's easier than using a gun to plant for evidence.
Yeah, pretty much. It's more complicated than that, but
okay.
Yeah. Great.
Sounds like it's easier to install than Arch Linux.
It is. Well, I don't know about Arch, but it's definitely easier to install than Gentoo.
I've tried to install Arch. I couldn't figure anything out.
Yeah. Just use Arch Labs. It works great.
This is the reason I use Fedora, because it has all the same features as Arch. You get all the latest stuff, but it actually has an installer that's very, very nice.
Yeah.
I think Fedora has the best installer. Fedora, CentOS, Red Hat, the Anaconda installer. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, it's a bit slithery, but
I just like the fact that you can configure stuff while it's installing, which makes a lot of sense.
I do like some of that. It definitely decreases the install time, so you don't have to type everything in before that. That is a good thing.
Like I believe you said. I know it's more on CentOS and Red Hat. They did this. Fedora is more traditional, but it still is the same installer. But I think it was on Red Hat. You configured everything, like the date, time, users, pretty much everything that wasn't essential during the installation.
Yeah, I'm just going to flip through a few comments here. I'm not going to get to all of them today, I don't think, but...
Which, in my opinion, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so let's see. where's that one confirmatory? When you come out of the womb and they start collecting data, such as how many times does your baby do a bowel movement because we can sell you diapers. Yeah, there was a children's smart speaker. It was pulled out. It was by Mattel, I think. And they pulled it from the market because of, obviously it had some concerns with it, but it was called Aristotle. It was a smart speaker that would grow up with your baby. So you put it in there and it will comfort your baby. It will read your baby bedtime stories, all this fun stuff. But of the things that it did do, you could connect it to Alexa and it would detect the number of times your baby did a bowel movement. It would order you diapers for you. It was a creepy amount of stuff this thing did. So fortunately they did pull it from the market, which is good.
I just don't like the things where they're all internet connected with microphones and speakers and it's admin password to get into the thing.
Yeah, there you go. Admin password. Yeah, that's the thing. In fact, we're going to be looking once again at Nest cameras on the news tomorrow. Most secure cameras in the world.
We actually have we have a Ring camera at our other house, not here. I kind of regret it now.
Yeah, well,
We have I think we do have a camera here. It's not Ring, it's something else.
Pretty soon they will collect data on how many times they visit the toilet. There are smart toilets for that.
Toss was talking about those.
Oh boy.
Remember it was Tosh was talking about smart clothes.
Yeah.
He was into smart everything, smart clothes. Then he found an article from one of the home improvement stores on a smart toilet, and he made about an hour discussion about it.
Kind of like the toilets in China, right? Facial recognition. You get like, what is it, 3 meters of toilet paper per facial scan. What? That's going to be the latest way of exploiting children. Take them into the bathroom. Scan, kid. I need more toilet paper.
The sad thing is I knew exactly what he's talking about because they had one down here at the Lowe's home improvement store.
Oh, good.
Right out with all the other toilets.
You say only 3 meters? What if I just ate Taco Bell?
That's one of the questions. That's one of the concerns.
This thing had a keypad on it like you were sitting down to fly the USS Enterprise.
I wonder if they'll have Alexa integration eventually. Where you can ask Alexa to do stuff.
Yeah. Your stool is a little bit rough. Should I order you some vegetables? God. Oh, nasty.
This is getting bizarre.
Yeah, it is. Let's do our final wrap up and get this thing offline before it goes crazy.
The password to get into the thing, you'll have admin or admin password. Then you'll be able to do some hacker could do all some crazy stuff with the toilet.
When the toilet starts coming with cameras, I'm just gonna start learning the three seashells in the woods. I mean. All right, Ben, final thoughts on all this nonsense.
Well, if you submit your DNA to one of these firms that do this analysis for you, you're effectively doxing generations that haven't been born yet.
Yes, good news.
Yes.
Good. Well, good point. Bad news, good point. Brian?
Yep, I agree with that. Also, if you use one of these sites to give your DNA, you're also unwittingly giving the DNA of a lot of your family and all of your close family that's close enough with you to be, typed in cross-match, and it may bite you in the butt in the future when your health insurance rates shoot through the roof because they analyze it and they see you're susceptible to all these things you never knew you were.
Yeah, correct. Yep. Dan?
I'd have to agree with Brian. Ben, if you're willingly giving your DNA out to these places, I mean, you're wrecking the future of your family, and you're putting your existing family at risk as well.
Yeah, Jessi.
Well, I think I've said most of what I say. I don't subscribe to any of these DNA services because basically I don't want to make you guys jealous that I got all the good genes here.
That's right. That's right. Model of perfection right there.
That's right. There you go, bud.
Yeah. All right, Quint.
I know my family's talked about doing it, and some of my extended family has done it, but I'm just trying to hold off right now on my immediate family. I'm just trying to tell them that it's not. I'll tell them that it doesn't even do anything.
Sure. Why don't you watch that CBC Marketplace and see if that helps convince anybody? Yeah. So democracy, rich man's sport. Pre-existing coverage is now law now, though. Yeah. Yeah. Just because. Yeah. It's also against the law to kill people. Governments do that all the time. It's also against the law to do what all the big farm companies do. They don't care. The insurance companies got the power. They're gonna, they're gonna do some things. So it doesn't matter if it's law or not. They are gonna find a way to hurt people with the data. Vince, final thoughts.
Guys, everyone, be very careful what you're doing, because once your data, once your DNA is out there, you can't get it back. And even the use cases we're thinking about now that are scary, in 10 or 20 years' time, when the data's still available, there could be new use cases for this stuff that we haven't even thought of. And that's scary. Yeah.
So my final take home is anything that you give to any company, you have to assume is going to go out to the entire world. And so just don't do it. Just keep it at that. Just hold back your data. Hold back as much as you possibly can. Be very, very tight-fisted with what you do choose to personally give out. Also, final one is I will be doing another live stream on my Christian channel discussing the abortion issue at 9 o'clock. That is 1 hour from now on Our Walk in Christ. I will go ahead and drop the link in the chat, and then we are going to feed the kitty and wrap it up so I can hang out with these guys here. Let me copy link address. So that is in there. We're going to be talking about the abortion issue in New York and the latest nonsense and mess with that. So let's go ahead and oh boy, kitty. Oh boy, kitty, your favorite part of the stream. Let me get a big screen kitty going here. All right. Oh boy, kitty. Oh boy. Stick your head in there. Stick your head in there. Or a paw. Stick something in there. Oh, he's got the paw. You getting one? You getting one? Oh, you got it. You got it. Oh, there it is. And you get one more, and then we'll get some more later on. There you go, kitty. That's good? Oh, that's good. Are they finger licking good?
He's like cautiously checking it out.
Yeah.
One fell out.
Abortion. Do I mean murder? Yes, I do kind of mean the murder. Yes. All right. So join me over there in about 1 hour's time. That is, the link is there in the description. The channel is called Our Walk in Christ, and I discuss Christian issues over on that channel. So have a look over there if you are curious in any of that kind of stuff. And if you're not into that kind of stuff, then don't worry about it. So we'll see you guys later. Anyone else want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.